do what you enjoy, listen to your inner self, and welcome mistakes. That's how you make yourself better in the process, is really by virtue of mistakes and recovery from those mistakes. Just acknowledge that that's the only way that you can adapt and improve and achieve success.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people who were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we have Saied Karamooz. Take it away, Bill.
Thanks, Richard. Saied, appreciate you being on the Road Less Traveled show.
My pleasure. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Good morning. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, what your former career was, and how long you're in that line?
Of course, yeah. Academically, I studied computer science at undergrad. And then from there, I went to work for a management consulting firm. That's where I had the pleasure of meeting Richard. And that's some 30 some years ago. From there, I moved on to fairly later in my career to work for a high-tech firm in Silicon Valley. And then in between, I actually got my master's in business administration and information sciences as well. So that's kind of my trajectory, if you will.
Excellent.
In the initial phase.
Absolutely. And then what road or path are you on now that you've transitioned to?
So today, my wife and I, we created a new company that we do skincare, manufacturing and sales and in Northern California. We're doing what we love. We're doing it on our own pace. We do it at our own priorities. We set our own deadlines. We work together. We celebrate things together. So it's been a fundamental shift, if you will, from the corporate world where our lives were governed, if you will, by the demands and the priorities of the employer, and now we are just about 180 degrees the opposite, where we can decide what to do. We can manage every aspect of our lives in a way that we enjoy and we want to live our lives.
That's great.
I noticed, Saied, you're not wearing the starched white shirt and tie like we used to wear, and suit every minute of the day. I guess things have changed a little bit there, huh?
Things have changed dramatically. Yes, that's probably one of the many indications of the changes. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Back in the day, I'm probably stealing a funny story, but there was I can remember that Saied always had the very stiffly starched shirts. I want to say that you probably used heavy starch, where I used maybe lighter starch. And we used to, walk up to you occasionally at the office and try to get a chance to, stick our finger in your pocket. It was sealed and try to uncrease it, and you wouldn't be very happy with us, but it was some funny.
We had lots of good times. Let's just say.
Yeah.
That was one of the least. That was one of the most innocent versions of fun.
There you go. So speaking of humorous stories, something is there something in the past from your days in the corporate world, in the management consulting side, or maybe your high tech company work where you enjoy the work, but at the same point in time, it just made you scratch your head saying, I got to do something else. This is, I'm getting tired of this. I need a change, something funny along the way.
There are lots of funny stories, and there are many indicators, if you will, along the way that said, probably do something differently, and thousands. But I do want to, frankly, emphasize the encounters that we have, the people that we meet, those kinds of really, really memorable experiences in life, including our profession and what we do throughout the day, where we spend most of our days. And I was thinking about that, and a memorable event in my life is actually happened at work in 1990. It was a Secret Santa gift exchange in Richmond. And I always had a reputation for being hard to shop for. But one of the team members figured the perfect gift to give to me at that time. So I'll let you take it from here, Richard.
Well, I know the story, and I'll share. I'll go ahead and elaborate a little bit. So this was again, this was a situation where we had about 15 people that were picked up out of their home office and put in Richmond, Virginia. And we were all in corporate apartments, and we were prohibited from working more than 40 hours. So we had a lot of free time on our hands, had a lot of fun as a bunch of young professionals. Anyway, the guys wanted to do a Secret Santa, and I was a little resistant to it. But then there was this one particular young lady, a colleague of ours, that had a personal tragedy, and I realized, well, wait a second, I'm being selfish. I need to give to be part of this, and But by that point, all the names were picked. So I said, okay, hey, who's got Saied? And so I had them pick me and do a gift for me, and I told them what I wanted, and then I had something in mind for Saied based upon his previous background, and I said, okay, let's go ahead and do that, and it turns out, go ahead and say what was the gift.
You don't remember?
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do. Somehow Richard known that I had volunteered for Big Brother, Big Sister program prior to that project in Richmond. So when I was in a different city, so he got a donation on my behalf to the Big Brother, Big Sister chapter in Richmond, which I thought was is an extremely thoughtful gift, and it. Frankly, I appreciate it more than anything that he could have gotten me personally. So, that's what life is all about. Really, truly, building these kinds of relationships. And the story is 30 some years old.
Right.
Not that many things I remember from 30 years ago. Let's just say.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the gift that I had identified for the other person to give to me was a donation in my name to, I think it was the American Red Cross. And and I think the point there is that you're right. It is some of these things that you do along the way that make the lasting memories, that build the friendships that are more than 30 years old. And and honestly, I think that's a testimony to that you remember it, and you appreciate that still all these years later. Tells about your character, tells about who you are too. So yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great. Yep. So anyway. That's a story worth sharing, so to speak.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, Saied, what was there a deciding factor getting you to change the initial path you were on to doing what you're doing today? It sounds like there's a real passion for your new business and being able to work with your wife and your own hours and all that. Was it any one thing, or just over time you decided that you wanted to do something on your own terms?
It's a great question. Probably the pivotal moment, if you will, was the shift from needing to generate steady and stable income for a period of time. And namely, it had to do with the tuition and educational costs of our children. So we made a deliberate choice that once they were out of college, we didn't have to have that anxiety, if you will, of making sure that every month the bills are paid on time. And of course, bills have to be paid on time, but the level of the income stream. So in 2008, we decided to take early retirement. We took some time, which happened to be a pretty good time to be on the sidelines and watch the financial implosion from afar. And we did some travels. We had a great time. And then we also reflected on what we wanted to do going forward. So we really wanted to make it intentional and something that we can enjoy along the way. So, our priorities were to be together as much as possible, to, enjoy what we do, and also make something that is our signature. It's our creation. And in particular, we landed on skincare. As we traveled, we encountered a lot of remedies and a lot of methods where women around the world took care of their skin using natural ingredients, using ancient sciences for different, whether it was like a clay from the river or whether it was an oil from some other. So long story short, so all those things influenced, and also being open and receptive to the signals that you get, to kind of take it in and let a little bit of kind of universe help you guide your path. So with all of those things, I know it may sound a little flaky, but it really was a journey to transition from a very structured, very predefined, very kind of a dictated lifestyle to a very much a self-guided and open lifestyle. But with the advantage of having all of that discipline and all of that learning and all of those things, right, under our belt, and bringing that forward to this new opportunity, if you will. So we created a company. It is a skincare company, but it is unlike the common brands. We really, truly do tap into the effectiveness and the healthful elements of the natural ingredients. We make it in a way that is sustainable, both from environmentally, but also socially, and all of those types of elements, right? So we kind of very thoughtful and intentional about all of our practices, and we frankly also market it as that, because consumers are demanding this shift in their choices. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question directly, but indirectly, these are some of the things that again we. That guided our shift from where we were to where we are today.
No, that's
fantastic.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So Saied, what is your company? What is the company's name?
So our company's name is Blue Beautifly, and it is inspired by the blue butterflies that we saw in Costa Rica when we were on a yoga retreat for a week. And these creatures are beyond beautiful. I mean, they're just amazing. If you just Google search, blue butterflies in Costa Rica, forest, rainforest, you'll see these things are just magnificent. So that inspired the name, but also the butterfly itself is a symbol of transformation. Right? So that also was really, truly. So we make skincare products. We make it all in-house in Northern California. And we are, we've built a company in a very methodical and very intentional way by way of we never took any outside investment money. We did not borrow any money. So we never wanted to have that pressure of someone else, again, trying to influence our decisions. And we made a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's part of the business. That's part of learning. That's part of growth. And we welcome all of that along the way. And we have made a lot of good memories along the way, reflecting back on those mistakes. And it's just fine, So, and again, I'm maybe rambling on a little bit.
Not at all.
But again, I'm trying to kind of impart the experience of it and trying to kind of verbalize what it's like to make a shift to kind of a space of unknown, but have kind of a leap of faith in there and do what feels right in your heart as opposed to in your head, maybe. Yeah.
Nice. So you're.
I see. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Richard. Yeah. So your question was about the company, right? So the company, that's what we make. We make skincare products.
Right.
We do it. We sell it in the Western market. So we are, of course, everything has to be, and we want it to be, safe and packaged properly and labeled. All those things, of course, are part of the brand. but what goes inside the bottle and the way that product is made is fundamentally different than what others do.
Yeah, California typically has some standards that maybe the rest of the company may not adhere to in certain ways. But my point there is, I guess, is that you're already hitting a very high standard in how you do things. So your product is already differentiated.
Yeah.
And I imagine you are, in what you said about kind of, you made a few mistakes along the way, but you learned and you moved on quickly. I think of that in terms of the concept of fail fast forward. Make a mistake, learn from it, go hit the next, keep on trucking and keep on, moving to the next milestone. So I imagine you're online. You have local distributors, I guess, in terms of local stores, I would imagine as well. Is that right?
No, so we sell online and ourselves and only ourselves, and then we sell directly to retail outfits that are spas, like boutique spas, and or like high-end premier resorts. Okay. So we kind of, those are our top. Those are our two channels. We do have international distributorship, but not in the U.S.
Gotcha. We'll put a link to your website in the show notes. Do you from your travels along the way, where you learned about certain local, things that might very well be leveraged by the local population for great skin, do you bring some of those products to your factory and then incorporate them? Is that how you?
We frankly tap into the ingredients themselves.
Okay.
So from different botanicals, different like extracts of the different oils, different clays, different those types of things. So we study. This is Vita's department, if you will. She does all of the research and all of the analysis of what the different ingredients do for different types of skin, for different conditions of the skin, all of those things. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, Saied, as you were getting this going, did you encounter some obstacles along the way?
Oh, yeah, we encounter lots of obstacles along the way. It's a tough market to break into. And we learned that every step you just have to, again, learn, but the obstacles, and they're run-of-the-mill, frankly, obstacles, right? Everything is all the devil is in the details with regard to packaging, with regard to distribution, with regard to whatever. But really, the common lesson is this, at least for us, is to be prepared. So build each stage, each aspect in a manner that can be piloted, if you will, right? So you test market any one change or any one new concept or different, something a little bit, just enough to get the results back, and then adjust and adapt, and then go all in. Okay.
The minimum viable product. You're testing that constantly. Yeah.
Constantly, whether we're changing the packaging material that we are using, whether we're, the product themselves, but also any aspect. It really is about baby steps first, because again, you have to make a bet. You'll never get anything right the first time. And that's like, listen, number one. But don't make that first step in a way that it's destructive to the whole business, if you will, if that gamble doesn't pay off.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Saied, what was one of the first victories you can think of when you decided to transition to new business? And obviously it took a little bit of time, as you said, you traveled and got the ideas, but where along the line can you remember like your first victory that you knew you were on the right path?
This file actually is a good segue to this question. One of our big initiatives for the 2 years, 2017, going into 2016, 17, 18, was to get into like premier health and wellness stores. So get on the shelves where people literally walk up. And we began to build a nice foothold in that market. And we were in 50, and we were on our way to 100 on stores from state of Washington down to LA. So along the coast, the West Coast, Oregon, in a variety of stores. And it was a nice victory, and we were growing rapidly. But as we began to analyze the numbers, we discovered that our top line is growing very healthy, but our bottom line is not growing. Right? And we discovered, first of all, it's very intensive. They need a lot of attention. You have to do, bend over backwards to retain your space on the shelf and your, presence and your top of mind awareness from the folks that work those aisles. And it's very costly. There's a lot of waste in there. There's a lot of, the products that's, disappears on the shelf, whether they break, whether they, or just used up and all that. So we made a conscious decision to pull out all of those stores in 2019. So in addition to what I was basically, or an extension of what I was saying earlier, is you really have to be prepared to, detect things that may look like a victory and a success on the surface may not actually be that. It may actually be a detriment to the business. And, we had that issue, frankly, the top line was growing very rapidly. The bottom line was not growing as rapidly, but also we had created a channel conflict. So now we had, our products in a space that did not stand, well in terms of our spa presence and our, resorts presence and all that kind of stuff. So, we made a decision to pull out. Our sales continued to increase at the top line, but our bottom line really, grew much faster as a result. So it's a continuous game of, do something, give it a chance, but really be prepared to do whatever it takes, as drastic as literally just, discontinue that.
Well, I'm sure in hindsight, it looked like a brilliant move as well. What happened the beginning of the next year, started COVID and all the travel restrictions and the lockdowns and all that, being online and being able to direct sell was, I would think, you were just a kind of ahead of the curve. And yeah. You
don't know, it even goes back to the earlier conversation, right? Be prepared to kind of be very mindful and very receptive to signals, so to speak. You're right. In the beginning of 2019, we had no clue what was going to happen 12 months later. But you're absolutely right, Bill. That not being on those shelves was a huge upside for us. Given that people were not shopping anymore. Frankly, they were doing a lot of online shopping and
That's great. Yeah.
I think the spike in traffic for how many boxes get shipped to my house has gone crazy in the past year and a half.
Right.
So Saied, in your new journey with Blue Beautifly, is there a humor story you can share? Something happened along the way?
Yeah, there are stories. The one, I don't know if it's a story or not, but anyway, it was just funny because I was in one of these retail stores that I was mentioning earlier. It was really high end wellness store. Long story short, I was there waiting to meet with a store manager, and I was kind of hanging on the side, had a cup of coffee. I was checking my phone and my email and all that, and these two guys come up to me and they ask, "Hey, is this someone sitting next to you here?" It was an empty cup there, so I think it's fine. They looked familiar, so I did a double take, and it turned out it was Woody Harrelson and Owen Wilson. in the workout clothes. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just a funny story. It's of no point whatsoever.
Yeah, so you travels and
Yeah, he just travels again, but yeah. So it was fun.
Very cool.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, see, where are you today in your journey as you're developing this and rolling it out? Where are you currently?
We we launched the company officially in 2014. We went to market, I should say. So we're about 7 years now into this journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have, so initial years, your growth is like, sky high, right? Because your base is so small. But right now we are on a more of a stable, more predictable stage of year-over-year growth. We are able to really devote a ton of time into refining our processes, in kind of looking at stepping back and reevaluating every aspect of our business. So it's really a very gratifying stage that we're in. It seems to be, you never know that tomorrow, especially when you're on your own business, but on a nice trajectory of sustained growth with a track record and all of those things. So a little less anxious, yeah, we enjoy it. We enjoy the whole thing. So that's kind of where we are in our trajectory of growth.
That's great, and that's super important. I mean, actually being to enjoy it, right? It's not a drudgery. You enjoy what you're doing, and it's a fun ride as you're growing and working.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Saied, nobody has a crystal ball, but what do you see down the road as you look, many years down the road,
Many years or just a few years?
5, 10.
More. What we're doing in the company is making sure everything is highly documented, super resilient, super scalable, and more on autopilot, if you will, right? So the more you create, you kind of go up the chain of stability and repeatability. The richer and the more mature the business gets, right? So it's not that we want to step away from it. It's just that we are working on making sure that it can run itself without our everyday hands-on presence and active involvement. So that's where we would like to see the business, whereby, yes, we're active there every day, but not by force, but it is by choice. And we are doing things that are expanding the business, not just, keeping the lights on.
We talk about that all the time, about you're either working in your business or on your business, right? You can get bogged down if you have to do all the details all the time versus being actually grow it.
Exactly. Right.
Excellent. Well, Saied, what's something you've recently implemented in your business that's helped you continue to grow? Is there any new strategy or technique or system?
Communicating our kind of philosophy in the principles of our company. We constantly were told, hey, you guys really should tell this story. Focus on your story and this and that. So really, we have devoted a good chunk of our attention the past 18 months to sharing that via our social media platforms and our own website. We took on an extensive project to really revamp our website so that it has the space for people to drill into each aspect of our business. Transparency is super important to us. Authenticity is super important to us. All of those things, and people are, and of course, sustainability is super important to us. And they all, people now really learn about our products, but more so about our company as a whole. And they be very positive. And of course, we heavily rely on social media to share that information and also to educate consumers. That's another big element. to really help them understand the distinction between, natural products versus, synthetically created products and what the differences are. So to answer your question, or focus on really sharing the story about our brand has been our focus.
That's great. I mean, and no better way to differentiate yourself, right, than why your company is unique or special.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. So, Saied, what advice would you give somebody who's thinking about making a path change or career change?
That's a tough one. I should never give advice to anyone, but but if it's the lessons that we've learned is to really just do what you enjoy, listen to your inner self, and welcome mistakes. Almost like anticipate and plan for mistakes. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't kick yourself for mistakes. Just acknowledge that that's the only way that you can adapt and improve and achieve success. Mm-hmm. So that to me would be the number one, I guess, insightful advice that I could give someone. Is just mistakes are it's like, when you have an injury, like, you have a cut on your skin and you see the skin grows thicker over there, right? It's actually is a thicker skin and a more resilient skin. That to me is an indication that that's how you make yourself better in the process, is really by virtue of mistakes and recovery from those mistakes.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Well, Saied, what's the best way for the listeners to be able to learn more about your business and get a hold of you?
The best way is just to navigate to our website. It's bluebeautifly.com, BLUE, the color blue, and then the Beautifly, BEAUTIFLY. That's our website. And of course, on social media at bluebeautifly.com, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it.
Excellent. Well, Richard, we'll link to all that in the show notes below to make it easier for listeners as well. And so we'd really like to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show today. We really enjoyed the conversation and wish you continued success.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And I wish you guys success too. It's been a wonderful experience knowing you guys and also being a part of this program.
Well, thanks, Saied. Again, we really appreciate you being on. We'd also like to thank our listeners. We appreciate you listening. Please continue to do so. Please give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like we've had today from Saied. And remember, folks, the show is sponsored by Park Capital Partners, and please continue listening. Remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.